Tony used nanotechnology to secretly assemble an Infinity Gauntlet. After he loaded all the Infinity Stones into it, Tony and Banner were almost ruined by this sneaky Infinity Gauntlet. Although the Infinity Gauntlet was already assembled, the most difficult problem right now was who would snap that fatal finger, because the last person who snapped it had already died under the battle axe. At that moment a fat man staggered over and was immediately stopped by several people. Although Thor was the only god in the Avengers, his physical condition was now very poor and he had long been numbing himself with alcohol. Tony was afraid that if he snapped his finger, every corner of the world would be stuffed with snowflake beer. Yet the situation was about to freeze when Banner, standing behind, walked out. He said he was the only Avenger present who possessed both strength and reason, and that most of the original backlash energy was gamma rays, so he was the best candidate to carry out this mission. After Banner finished speaking, everyone immediately assumed defensive postures, and Tony even had Friday close all the doors. After Banner put on the Infinity Gauntlet, gamma energy instantly spread throughout his body and continuously eroded his arm. Fortunately, Banner endured it with stubborn will. He knelt on both knees on the ground and laboriously snapped that fatal finger. After Banner snapped the finger, Bonnie immediately performed cooling treatment on Banner, and the first defensive doors also automatically opened. Everyone looked at the scene of restored vitality outside the window, and with the phone call from Hawkeye's wife coming in, it was clear their plan had succeeded. Yet before everyone could relax, Banner saw a giant warship firing several missiles at them. After the fierce firepower bombardment, the Avengers compound instantly turned into a pile of ruins. It turned out to be the long-lurking Nebula who caused this trouble. She brought Thanos' army to the present through the quantum tunnel. At this moment all the Avengers were pressed under the ruins and the situation was extremely critical. The shrunken Ant-Man hurriedly contacted Banner to confirm the position, while Hawkeye accidentally found the Infinity Gauntlet. In order to dodge the enemy's pursuit, Hawkeye tried every possible method and finally collapsed from exhaustion on the deck. On the other side of the battlefield, Tony, Captain America, and Thor finally reunited. The three looked at the very calm Thanos in front of them. Thor, without a word, immediately transformed into the God of Thunder. Then, with a bolt of lightning striking down, he held Mjolnir in his left hand and Stormbreaker in his right, and even tied a small braid in his hair. The three giants of the half-circle, although all prepared for battle. After hearing these words, Tony and the others could no longer hold back and charged at Thanos from different directions. Then they even cooperated with a super energy ring, but Thanos' strength was also very strong. Ordinary attacks from Thor's sword were useless. He wanted to swing the hammer for a heavy strike, yet unexpectedly Thanos grabbed Tony and blocked the hammer. At that moment Captain America was also hit by Thanos and lost combat ability on the ground. Thor, in close combat, was grabbed by Thanos, who pressed him against the wall and continuously struck him. Thor wanted to call Stormbreaker back, yet it was intercepted halfway by Thanos. Thor was about to be unable to hold on when Mjolnir nearby suddenly moved. Seeing this scene, we can only say everyone stand up. Some people on the surface are timid, yet behind the scenes have long practiced a set of hammer and shield combination techniques. Captain America held the shield in his left hand and the hammer in his right, and beat Thanos until he had no power to fight back. He even summoned lightning to enhance the attack, interpreting what it means for a mortal body to stand shoulder to shoulder with a god. But Captain America's strength was ultimately limited. Thanos seized the opening and pressed him to the ground. Captain America's thigh was stabbed, and even the indestructible vibranium shield was chopped into fragments by Thanos in a few strikes. At that moment Captain America had no support beside him. Even facing thousands upon thousands of Thanos' army, he still firmly stood up and blocked at the very front of the battlefield. Everyone thought this would be a one-sided defeat, yet right then other Avengers' voices came to Captain America's ears. Then the second, the third, countless portals tore open space. If the previous battlefield belonged to the lonely courage of the three giants, then now the hope of the entire universe gathered on this land. Although they came from different planets, they shared the same goal of protecting their homeland. The shield in Cap's hand was broken, yet behind him was the unity of all Avengers. The battle officially began. All the Avengers charged bravely. They were not only fighting for victory but also for the 5 years that had been taken away. They were the awakened will of the entire universe. Yet the focus of this war was still the gauntlet with the stones. At that moment the gauntlet was being rescued by Hawkeye from the hands of a small monster, yet when he turned he encountered Nebula. Hawkeye did not know she was the 2014 Nebula, so he safely handed the gauntlet to her. The rescue Nebula thought the plan had succeeded, yet did not expect that the rescue Gamora had already defected. She herself already had the heart to betray Thanos, and from the modern Nebula's mouth learned everything Thanos had done. Her betrayal was only advanced. Yet the rescue Nebula did not die at her hands but died at Nebula's own hands. They could only use Ant-Man's old-time machine in that dilapidated van. Ant-Man and the Wasp were responsible for starting the machine, while the others were responsible responsible for delivering the stones, so the gauntlet relay race officially began. First to appear was our Black Panther. He used his speed and strength advantages to successfully shake off the opponents, yet when entering the next track he was ambushed by the other side's boss. Thanos charged straight for the gauntlet but was blocked by Scarlet Witch. One cannot help but sigh again that Wanda's strength was truly too powerful. She not only single-handedly shattered Thanos' weapon but even successfully pinned him down. In a difficult situation, Thanos could only order the spaceship to open fire. Countless shells charged straight at the base, blasting both enemy and friendly fighters into pieces and also successfully sending Wanda flying. The sorcerers could only pause the battle and open defenses. Doctor Strange was no exception. He first had to control the bursting flood. The bombardment was still continuing and the relay race was also still continuing. Under Black Panther's efforts, the gauntlet reached the second runner, Spider-Man's hands. Even though Spider-Man activated one-hit kill mode and held onto the gauntlet, he could not hold on. At the critical moment, Captain America sent support. Spider-Man followed the Divine Hammer all the way forward, then countless teammates helped pepper Valkyrie. Yet suddenly Thanos' spaceship increased its firepower. Spider-Man was blasted to the ground and dense shells restricted his movement. Just when everyone felt powerless, the shells suddenly changed direction and shot toward the sky. A dazzling golden light charged at the spaceship and directly turned the spaceship that had just been arrogant into a pile of scrap iron. This at a glance was Captain Marvel's move. Even Thanos had never seen such powerful strength. She realized she could not delay any longer, so she ordered her subordinates to attack with full force. Looking at this formation, Spider-Man was a bit worried whether Captain Marvel could handle it alone. The true Avengers performed once more, only this time without Black Widow. This assault squad composed of female heroes tore open the enemy formation as always. They quietly passed through the small monster group and arrived in front of Thanos. Then, while Thanos was busy fighting, hurriedly charged toward the time machine carrying the gauntlet with the stones, yet were still one step ahead of Thanos. The gauntlet fell in the middle of the battlefield. Although the three giants of the Avengers did their utmost to stop him, in the end Thanos still got the gauntlet. He hurriedly put it on, preparing to end everything. At the critical moment, Captain Marvel arrived again. This person's strength was simply invincible. Thanos' iron head punch was completely useless, so he pressed the power stone and only with the stone's power managed to drive her away. In this life and death instant, Doctor Strange told Tony this was the only possibility of victory. Tony understood. At this moment he finally understood his mission. Yet Thanos, who did not even fear Captain Marvel, would not take this ordinary person seriously. He blasted Tony away with one palm, then snapped. It turned out the stones had already been transferred by Tony. He looked up at Thanos. In those tired yet firm eyes flickered a resolute light. As the snap sounded, Thanos' entire army turned to ash, including himself. Tony ultimately used a mortal body to bear the power of a god. Although he left at that moment, he sent himself onto the altar and also left himself in eternity. Except for Tony, everyone's ending was very beautiful. Thor handed Asgard over to Valkyrie and planned to wander with the Guardians of the Galaxy himself, while Captain America returned to the past to return the stones and along the way made up for a lifetime of regrets. When he appeared again, he already had a full head of white hair. He handed the shield to Falcon. That hero belonging to the old era finally completed his legacy. The ending was beautiful, just like those words Tony left in the helmet. I hope when you play back this recording it is in celebration. I hope the family is reunited. I hope everything returns to how it was. If it can be so, my god, how wonderful this world would be. Shin Chuan is about to cry to death. Tony was truly too great. Finally, what Tony wanted to say is that the end of the movie is a grand funeral. Everyone came for that admirable man, Tony Stark. This man who had always claimed to be a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, ultimately left in this way.